Hello and welcome to Thrive at Home. My name is Sam.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
And today we want to talk about the importance of accepting one another in relationships. And I know that when I grew up, my mom had needle pointed on the wall the Serenity Prayer, which through different times of my life has been much more important than others. But that prayer is just a foundation, right? God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And that ability to accept the things you cannot change really comes into play when we're talking about relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are times when relationships are just starting out that we see something, like maybe you're dating out on a date or something, and something catches at us and we're aware, but then we kind of skate over it because we're interested,
no big deal.
And it's not a big deal. But especially if it's not talked about or if it's not something that's really settled for you, sometimes that will come up later in the relationship down the road to where now you just can't get it out of your mind because it so annoys you. And it could be something like maybe your partner's super loud at parties and maybe that was how you met. And so it was a great connecting moment.
Right.
But then now that you are, 10, maybe 20 years down the road.
It just like sets your teeth on edge or something.
Yeah, it's just like,
And what the problem is, it's the mindset at that point.
Right.
Because if I have forgotten to accept that part, right, and now I'm so motivated in changing it, we really can become pretty horrible people when we're trying to change others.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So if it's my life goal to change you, that would be a problem. And I'll give you a perfect example. So Carrie is not super loud and outgoing.
No.
Like that would not be your personality. So sometimes I, as a husband, have feared that other people are seeing her as standoffish or even uninterested. I think other people are giving feedback. Well, I thought you were a snob or something like that, which is the furthest thing from the truth. But you aren't a very outgoing person.
Not super gregarious.
And so, I mean, we've been married 16 years now, but I will say that there have been times in our marriage that I was like, oh, I wish she would do this. Like early on in our marriage, like, oh, she shouldn't do anything. This is who she is, right? I mean, she is a more methodical, less just small talk, shooting the breeze. And so to learn to go, wow, I love how deep she can get and how genuine your connection is with people, where I can have some really engaging conversations with somebody I don't even know their name.
Yeah.
Right? I'm just
yeah.
And I don't even know them. And so what's really better? Well, it's not better, it's just different.
Right. It's learning to accept one another and these little things that we're talking about, which I'm sure you've got a few, you're thinking of a few. But learning to accept those comes down to having some conversation about it. And, is it something that bothers you? Because if it is, then you need to address it. And because it's bothering you, you're the one responsible for bringing it up.
Right.
Right. And then it's not bringing it up in the sense of I need you to change. It's bringing it up of, hey, let's just come around this problem. Let's just make it aware. Is this something, what have you already done that has allowed for your partner's personality? What else can be done to make allowances and acceptance for your partner's personality?
Yeah, making room. Huh?
Yeah, making room for each other. Is there a trade-off?
Right.
Maybe, like in this instance, I'm not really a people person and liking loud parties, but I go to them because it's also something that he enjoys.
Right.
And we can bounce up back and forth off of each other, and eventually I make a friend and everything's fine.
Yeah.
But it's that initial getting started and getting over those nerves, and so there becomes trade-off around it. So it's having the kinds of conversations very pointedly, and then learning, putting that positive spin like you were so beautifully doing with me is,
Well, and here's the thing. What catches us in our mind is we think, well, someone else wouldn't do that. And this is where it's dangerous, because if you have a commitment to stay married, right, you have two choices here. You can learn to accept what's going on, or two, you can be really invested in trying to change it.
Right.
Well, I can tell you that trying to change it is going to make a fairly miserable relationship.
Right.
So on the acceptance piece, here's the thing. you're going to have a set of things that you don't like about whoever you were in relationship with.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the piece, is being able to honestly look at, okay, yeah, here's 2 or 3 things that bother me, but here's like 50 things that are perfect, right? Perfect in our relationship. So we have to get our mind shifted to thinking about those things that are perfect, rather than focus on those few things that maybe don't work. Because the bottom line is, no matter who you were in relationship with, there would be some set of issues, some set of problems that aren't perfect.
Yeah. There is a well-known therapist, Dan Weil, who says that a relationship is kind of like looking at, like, if you fall and you have an injury. So you say you're going and doing something, playing basketball or something, and you get injured and you end up blowing out your knee. Right? So you may have surgery, you may have something else, but you have to go through therapy and learn how to adapt to that knee. You don't just throw away that knee and get a new one. Right? Because the new one would come with a whole different set of problems. And so that's kind of what the idea of relationships is. It's like, this is what we chose. And so now we learn how to live with it. If we need a manual, we need to have more conversation, learn about each other. But understanding and accepting who we are is going to make you stronger as an individual. And I think it's going to make your partnership and your relationship much stronger in the long run.
Yep. It's interesting because it's the bottom line is commitment, right? It's that, do you have that level of commitment that you're saying, I choose this person? And I think that in the beginning, we say premarital couples, right, go into marriage with your eyes wide open and then half closed after, right? I think that was what Ben Franklin once said is, go into marriage with your eyes wide open, looking at everything, but then afterwards you need to shut your eyes to those things that, bother you.
Right.
But that is a level of commitment. It's reminding yourself that this is that choice. Right. All right. Well, I hope this was good, and share it with somebody else. Maybe have a conversation with your partner about the things that, there are things in our relationship that, bother me, but I love you anyway, because here's all the ways that I remember and I know that we're perfect for each other. All right.